For years, Indian enthusiasts have been asking from Yamaha when their big bikes are coming. I mean, the R3 was present in India for a brief period, but then it again went absent for a long time. And when they finally brought out the MT-03 and the R3 in the late half of 2023, the asking price was far too high for any of the Indian enthusiasts to answer the call of the blue. In that regard, when KTM set out to build this Gen 3, they sort of brought back that lost value for money factor which was associated with the original 390 Duke. And in that sense, this is a very pricey, or rather not a very pricey but a lot more powerful package.
Yeah, Jihan, in terms of pricing, the MT-03 is very expensive, but in today's comparison, we're going to keep price apart. We're going to test both these motorcycles head to head in the real world and check out which is the better bike, barring the price.
But we'll get the price in the final verdict.
So let's start this comparison with the performance, because that is why buyers buy these motorcycles. In terms of the engine displacement, they are pretty much close. In terms of the power output also, they are pretty much close. But there is one big change. It's a single cylinder, this is a parallel twin. And what's your take on the performance?
So way these two engines deliver their power is very representative of the company's identities, right? KTM is brash, mental, ready to race. So everything is instantaneous. Whereas the Yamaha is cool, calm, collected. And in that sense, the revs are gently built up over time. And you mentioned that the cubic capacity is close and the power is close, but it's the torque that counts in the real world. And there's a huge gap, especially this is now not only making more power at the top, but the torque is more heavier at the bottom. So you're getting a more versatile and well spread out performance expectation or performance experience from the 390.
Okay. Yeah, in the city, the MT-03 is not as tractable as the KTM, which we never thought we would be seeing that, because the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 engine struggle with that. In terms of the low-end performance, yes, the MT-03 is not that great, but this motorcycle loves to rev and all that performance is right at the top. In terms of acceleration, the KTM is the clear winner. It just shoots off the line. But I think in terms of top speed, the MT-03 is slightly better.
Might just come close, but even then at the BIC I was seeing 155, 156, whereas on the Chakan test track we were seeing 170. So there might be a speedo error here, it might just be doing 160. So the top speed advantage as such is not that much, but in the real world top speed doesn't count for that much. Exactly. It's the roll-on figures, it's the roll-on acceleration, and that's where the KTM just puts a smile on your face.
Exactly. In terms of sheer performance, the KTM has the edge, but in terms of refinement, the MT-03, because of its parallel twin engine, it's right up there. Having said that, the KTM also has improved its NVH levels compared to the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 motorcycle. But in terms of sheer performance, the KTM wins. And coming to the gearbox, again, that has the quick shifter that works flawlessly.
I think the shifts are better on the MT-03 because Yamaha makes pretty good gearboxes. But again, the quick shifter, the finesse of it, the easiness of it, clutch system better on the KTM. And then, of course, it's got a fair few riding aids to help you out, which is absolutely absent again on the MT-03.
But you miss the quick shifter on the MT-03 because given the performance, you just feel like that should be there in this segment right now.
I mean, the R15 has it. The MT-15, that doesn't have it, but the R15 has it. In my personal experience living with the 390 Duke for the past 6 months, the bike has managed to return around 23-24 kmpl in a variety of riding scenarios with my sporty, heavy-handed riding. Having previously lived with the R3 for the better part of 2 years and riding it in a similar manner, the 321cc motor used to return at best 18 to 19 kmpl, and that same motor is now present on the MT-03. Hence, in terms of frugality, I would think that the KTM would have an edge over the Yami.
I think in terms of performance, the KTM.
And that performance translates well when you are exactly seeking thrills in the twisties.
Oh. let's head for thrills. So Jihan, about thrills, the first thing that you want to focus on is handling. And in terms of the chassis also, they are completely different. But unlike the performance, both these motorcycles are pretty close in terms of sheer handling.
So in terms of when you want to attack the bends, yes, the KTM feels more sharp, more precise, more energetic.
Engaging, yeah.
Whereas the MT-03 is more poised. It's rather relatively easier and it's more composed in that sense. It doesn't want to do things too quickly or rapidly, but the joy, again, I come back to the part, the joy factor is still associated very much with the 390.
Exactly. With the MT-03, yes, it is fun, but it is not as potent, say, as the KTM. But for me, the biggest problem with this motorcycle were the tires, because it was kind of holding me back. Like, I was trying my best to keep up with him, but the tires were just there, not giving me enough confidence, and I was not committing too much.
Tires are an issue on this bike as well, not as much as the Dunlops over there, but the Metzelas are certainly holding me back as well, and I've sort of tried to find solutions. Hopefully there might be something new on this bike very soon, but in that sense, the rest of the package, like the chassis improvement which KTM has done, is just taking that, and it's not only just the entry phase, it's also the mid phase and the shoot out. It just slowly I could make way, slowly I could push away from you. And then when you come to the brakes, these have got such fierce, hard stopping brakes. That's good, but this is just that one level better.
I think the bite on the KTM is much better, it's sharper, the feel is also better. The Yamaha, I think it's tuned a bit soft in that sense. Also the KTM has cornering ABS, so mid corner also, if you have some kind of a moment, you are much more safer on the KTM. And in terms of agility, both these motorcycles are pretty good in the city, right?
Yeah, so cutting through traffic, making your way through it, both should be well suited to do that. But again, this is slightly lighter and easier on its feet.
More flexible.
Plus, we'll get to the ergonomics, but it just puts you in that right spot, right?
Yeah. And let's get the ergonomics out of the way. I felt very cramped on the MT-03 because the upper body is kind of relaxed, but the rear set foot pegs, it just makes the bottom end very cramped. It kind of reminded me of the Gen 1 KTM 392. Okay, it's not as bad as the 392, but it is not very comfortable for, say, big riders like us.
Yeah, because that is still technically an R3 with flat handlebars, and that doesn't work well, right? Because in the R3 with the clip-ons, you are in a nice sporty stance, whereas right now you're sporty only, whereas upper is just, what is this weirdness? More so the shape of the tank profile, it's protruding outwards, so you're not getting that sense of connection or holding onto the bike, which is strongly present right here, because the moment you sit on it, you are in that proper sporty, ready to race stance. And mind you, the original 800mm seat was a pain. I have switched over to the 820mm seat now, and that has made a wonderful upgrade of sorts, because no longer are my legs cramped. Plus that 800mm seat had that bump stop, which used to dig into your tailbone. That's gone away now. So right now I'm in a stance, my tailbone is not hurting, and now this is also a great touring stance. I mean, the 800 was there, but it used to sort of give you cramps. This is now in that very well, so I can go touring, I can do city, and I can certainly come up here to Lavas and have fun.
In terms of touring, I think because of the lower cramped position, I think the MT-03 is not that suitable, even though the engine is very refined at those speeds. And now coming to the comfort aspect in terms of ride quality also, stock suspension of the MT-03 I think is better than the
base setting. The base setting of
the
this
MT-03 is very good, but I think the KTM with its adjustability, it gives you more spear in terms of working it out for your weight, for your kind of riding style. And also the KTM has better ground clearance, so going over the rough roads bit, I think the KTM still has that edge.
Exactly, and this is the level of step up that we have seen from KTM from the first 390 Duke, which was 2013, to this one which came out in 2023, and now in 2024. This is setting that benchmark, right?
This kind of feels old in that sense.
Yes.
In all the aspects, maybe it's handling, maybe it's the ride quality, it's maybe the brakes. It just feels a generation older than the KTM.
Now both of these nakeds aren't particularly handsome lookers. You wouldn't take a look at either of them and be left spellbound. The Yamaha's slightly conservative and now aged design is making the MT-03 seem like a smaller bike than what it actually is. And the black color of a test bike doesn't do it any favors. And the KTM continues its polarizing look. You can either love it or hate it. And the amount of orange present on it, not every KTM fan too would be okay to live with it. Now there is just no disputing here, even though it was close in the thrills and both of these are not great lookers, but features wise, the KTM just hands down beats the MT-03. I mean, let me rattle off the list. It gets cornering ABS, it gets lean sensitive traction control, it gets a bidirectional quick shifter, it gets a color TFT dash, it gets Bluetooth connectivity, it gets music controls, it gets turn-by-turn navigation, it gets ride modes, I can switch off traction control, I can even make it supermoto mode, and I get LED lighting all around. I mean, what else do I need?
Exactly. In terms of features, I think it's a clear winner with the KTM. And the MT-03, the other thing is when you sit on the motorcycle, it doesn't feel special. You look at the console, it looks very old. The switch gear, again, it feels like it's of a commuter motorcycle. It doesn't feel of a motorcycle of this segment.
And why did they reshuffle around the indicator and the horn switch?
I don't know. It's like a Japanese thing. Even Honda did that with the CB300 and the CB650.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the MT. And in terms of even quality, like at one point of time, KTM lacked that. But I think with the Gen 3, they have stepped up again in terms of the quality. Yamaha build quality is stupendous. They are always renowned for that. In terms of the
import Yamaha's later.
Exactly. This is a made in Indonesia MT-03. But in general, the R3 also, which was sold in India, did have a good quality.
Yeah.
But still, the KTM has stepped up. In terms of features, again, Team Orange just knocks it out of the park. So, yeah, let's get into the summation part. And over here, the price has to come in because we had mentioned the beginning itself.
Yeah.
What's the price difference between the two?
Let me give you this perspective, okay? This is my personal bike. I bought this bike. The ex-showroom price is around 3.14 lakh. The on-road pricing is 3.8 lakh after financing. Still, I am saving some 70,000 rupees over the ex-showroom pricing of the MT-03. 321cc motorcycle which has not changed for the better part of a decade. Yeah. So in that sense, yes, they've got it here. Yes, we are supposed to praise Yamaha for getting it here, but it's too late. And I can't for one think of a reason why I would suggest this motorcycle to anybody. I mean, not even for the parallel twin experience.
Exactly. The parallel twin experience was kind of a thing, say, 5 years back. But given the kind of refinement of even single-cylinder motorcycles, the modern singles are that good. And as you mentioned, there is no kind of, like, there's nothing going in favor of the Yamaha. The styling is not like stupendous, or even the performance. Like at the beginning, we said that this will be a proper real-world performance test. So even in terms of performance, it's not matching the KTM. Even in terms of features, it's not matching the KTM. I think for Yamaha, they got it over here. Okay, it's a good thing. We got some big bikes, but in general, the MT-03 feels a generation or two older now.
Yeah, and that sort of leaves us very sad because bikes like the KTM need a good, strong rival. And we hoped that this was that bike maybe 5-6 years ago. But now, this is a clear winner. And I don't know when we'll get that rival, that perfect parallel twin rival. I mean, I think we'll have to hope for the 210 457 whenever that comes.
Yeah,
but until then, this is the ultimate sub 400cc naked, right?
And that's why it's the totem winner also.
Yeah. And that's my bike. What do you think about this video? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Always comment on our videos. Follow us on our Instagram page because we bring cool content over there as well. Anything else that they need to do, Arun?
Do you have any reason why you would suggest the MT-03? Please do let us know in the comments because I really want to listen to that.
Yeah, and always wear riding gear when you're out on the road.